Well, good morning. We're not quite ready to get started yet, but we'll get started shortly. And going to be checking out a Kenmore today. And I'll give you some initial homework once I find out my other music. I'm looking for my other music real quick. We'll go dance style. We'll get started just a little bit. And of course, good morning to my faithful leadership team, at least part of it. Susie and Emma, great to have you ladies here. Great to have you here. Well, good morning, everybody. Good to have you here on, I think it's Tuesday. It might be Tuesday. I've been losing track of time between all the stuff going on in the workshop, my involvement in the community, and then, of course, the home improvements that have been going on in the area just above the workshop. And those improvements originally were going to take just 2 days. But any of you that ever have worked with contractors, etc., before, their version of 2 days sometimes has a little bit of latitude, one way or the other. So I think this is day 4, day 5, but today is supposed to wrap it up once and for all. And it's partly my fault because originally we talked about, X, Y, and Z, and then I added, hey, why don't we do ABC too? And great guy, Jim, that's working with me. And he's always like, okay, no problem. We'll take care of ABC too. And then I'll say, what about D? Can we slide D in along with that as far as the improvements? And I think he's growing weary of me and I'm growing weary of the process. So we're gonna finish things up today, shake hands, and then move forward so I can direct my focus completely back on what's happening in the workshop. There's so much going on right now as far as machines, and I'm trying to advance forward, and I'll get, as you know, 3 or 4 machines done, and then 5 or 6 more will arrive. Just yesterday, I had a gentleman arrive at the workshop. I thought initially he was from Minnesota, but he's actually from Illinois. And I discovered that as soon as I went out to meet him, because he drives one of these Mercedes vans, these fancy things. and Illinois plates. And I just made a general remark. I said, "Oh, you're from Illinois." And he goes, he used some sort of a quick acronym. I'm not good with acronyms. I'm not good with emojis or any of that stuff. And so I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And he said, "Oh, that means those excuse me, but this is what he said, not me. He said, those effing Illinois people." I said, "I don't have any bad feelings towards Illinois people. I've got a lot of customers down in Illinois." And he goes, "Well, a lot of Wisconsin people, they despise people from Illinois." I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is. Now, if somebody were to say to me, there's this tension between the Minnesota people because of the Vikings and the Green Bay, Wisconsin people because of the Green Bay Packers, I know that's a thing. And that wouldn't surprise me, but I didn't realize all I ever hear about Illinois people is that they drive really fast. They drive really fast. I mean, I've driven through Illinois, like when I was going down to our friends at the History Museum for that fundraiser we did with them. And as soon as I got near Illinois, it was like a tsunami of traffic. I actually shot some quick little video clips. And while I was traveling down that way to meet with those folks, I shared them with all of you. I think on Facebook, or maybe it was YouTube, maybe. I don't remember. But at any rate, I shared them. And it just felt like all of a sudden I'm just cruising along, and all of a sudden, whoa, I must be near Illinois. But apparently he thinks there's like this big thing between Wisconsin people and Illinois people. I don't think so. But he brought in two FOF 130-6 models. They don't have the embroidery kit on the back, but they're beautiful machines. And his initial thought was, I'm going to see if we can make one working machine out of these two. I said, well, what if we made two working machines out of two machines? He goes, well, that'd be even better, but I didn't know if that was possible. I said, really? You didn't know that was possible with the workshop magic? Yeah, anything's possible with the workshop magic. And if you didn't attend the last live stream when I introduced this was given to me by Susie from Minnesota. And it was inspired by Emma, who started calling me the Wizard of Oconto. The Wizard of Oconto. So I don't know if we're going to get some sort of complaint letters from Harry Potter's group or what, but there is a new wizard in Oconto, and apparently it's me. Yeah, but this is a lot of fun. And so I just told him, yeah, it's very, very possible. And he does an interesting type of work. I shared this with Emma. I don't think I shared it with anyone else, but he does an interesting kind of work that I didn't even know it was a thing. And I said that to him. I didn't know it was a thing. But he said, I said, well, you're driving that really nice Mercedes, like utility van type thingy. What kind of work do you do? He said, well, I clean movie screens. It's a thing. So apparently he goes around the country. He goes all over the place, drives his Mercedes van, has all of his stuff in the back, whatever he needs. And he apparently goes around to these theaters, Marcus Theaters, all the other big theater groups, and he cleans their big screen that the movies show on. And he said, I said, well, is it dust? Is it, environmental stuff that gets on the screen that it requires your special cleaning method? He said, well, sometimes, but more so often than not, it's patrons that are at the theater deciding they want to throw things at the screen. He said, we have to clean off ketchup from hot dogs. We have to clean off gooey, buttery popcorn that sticks to the screen that people throw at it, milk duds. He said, you'd be amazed what people throw at the movie screens. And I said, at the price that they have to pay for this stuff? Or maybe they're smuggling it in. Maybe they're going to the Dollar Tree and getting the stuff cheaper. And they're saying, oh, we can waste it. It cost us $1.25. But I said to him, I said, wow. I said, we used to shoot little paper wads when we would go to the theater for class things to watch a movie or something like that. In the school theater, we would shoot little paper wads at our classmates up ahead of us, but we never whipped hot dogs or milk duds or gooey popcorn or anything like that at the screen. We would have gotten expelled. And he said, no, it's really a thing. And I said, well, if these screens, stay dirty, what's the impact for the theater owner, the operator? He said, well, if you didn't know this, in those projectors, those things that show the movies when you go to like a Marcus Theater or something like that, he said those bulbs that are inside of those projectors have some way of sensing how the image is displaying on the screen. And the dirtier the screen is, the brighter that bulb has to shine to get to that certain level of presentation that is preset in the programming of the movie type camera that shows the movies. And he said, guess how much one of those bulbs is inside of that theater projector thing that might be at a Marcus Theater or any of those other theaters that you might have in your communities? I said, I don't know. I'm thinking like a bulb in a sewing machine, $20. He starts laughing. He goes, no, not $20. One of those bulbs inside of a theater, a professional theater projector, like at a Marcus Theater or something like that, he said it's about, and I couldn't even believe he was telling the truth, but he said it convincingly. He said they're around $80,000. Now, it must be some sort of a bulb with assembly or some blah, blah, blah. But I said to him, I said, we need to get in the business and start selling bulbs to theaters for like $20,000 and give them like a deal. Because I know that these bulbs are probably being made in some third world country and they probably cost like $20 to make. And then they're selling them for like $80,000. $80,000 for a bulb. Wow. So, yeah, interesting customer, nice guy. And I think his mind is opening now. Maybe not all Wisconsin people hate us, but I was inspired by the fact that he had just been over in Minnesota at some of their theaters and was cleaning their screens. And he also shared an interesting story. Most of you have heard of the restaurant line because they were in the news because of harassment charges from employees. But most of you have heard of Hooters. Hooters is that bar where all the gals strut around with not much on. And at any rate, most of you know what I'm talking about. He said they got a call from Hooters as well. And Hooters doesn't have a big theater screen, but they've got in their places, they've got all of these TVs set up to make it kind of a sports bar type setting. And I kidded with him. I said, most people don't go to Hooters to watch the TVs. They go there to look at the beautiful girls. And he said, but we got a call from Hooters and they wanted us to come in and clean all of their TV screens. I thought, okay. I said, did you guys end up doing it? He goes, it's still pending. But we were kind of surprised they wanted us to clean their TV screens because, there's stuff you can spray on them and just wipe them off. But maybe the Hooter girls, maybe it's not in their job description to clean TV screens. And the management approached them about this, and their union, if they have one, I don't know if they do or not, their union said, no. Our girls are not going to clean TV screens. You better call somebody about that if you want them clean. So at any rate, it's fascinating, the people that come to the workshop sometimes and the stories that they bring. So if you didn't know that there's a real job out there, I don't think Mike Rowe would latch onto it as a dirty job. But then again, you got hot dogs and milk duds and everything else stuck to the screens. Maybe Mike Rowe, if he was still doing the dirty jobs thing, maybe he would sign off on that and he would join Mike. My customer is also Mike. Join Mike and going there to clean these huge screens that are in the theaters. But it's really a thing. And apparently it's in demand because he drives his Mercedes utility van all over the country. I think he said he was out in New York recently or somewhere on the East Coast. And he was out on the East Coast cleaning their screens out there. And apparently I saw it on the news this morning when I was drinking coffee on the East Coast right now, especially around New York and real close to West Point, where I was, West Point, New York, near Poughkeepsie and all that area out in New York. Apparently, they're underwater right now. Did anyone else know that? They've got major flooding going on right now out on the East Coast because of all the rain that fell. Last night, we got a ton of rain that came down. I was out on the front porch, I've got a covered porch. I was out on the front porch just watching this and the lightning bolts and everything. I don't know if Susie or Bill or some others right over in Minnesota, uh, if you guys had a storm roll through your area too, but it was intense. I don't know how much rain we got in this area, but it was really, really. I mean, we're talking the type of rain. It's coming down, and you can see it hitting the ground and bouncing back up again. It was really, really. I was kind of watching and watching the wind as well, hoping that no trees would come down. So, yeah, amazing stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Let me say good morning to everyone that's in the live stream right now, and then we'll kind of jump into things. And it was, I think I told Emma and Susie yesterday that it was up to almost 97 degrees here. And that's not like, that's not like in the sun. It was hot. It was crazy hot. And so I finally broke down. I was wearing my camouflage long pants forever, and I finally broke down. And I've got my shorts on today. So I hope I'm not out of uniform as far as a live stream wearing my shorts. I hope not. But yeah, when it's hot, and you got to adjust for it. So let me see who's in the live stream right now. See already that our owner is here, Becky from, and I was going to give this to you as a task. Let me see if you can tell someone look up the city that Becky is from. It's, let's see, it's Aitkin. I think it says it's pronounced Aitkin, Minnesota. Let's see, Aitkin, Aitkin, and type in something interesting about the city that this machine is from, this Kenmore. Type in something interesting in the live chat about the city that this machine is from. Again, it's AIT, A as in apple, I as in Indian, T as in tango, K as in kilo, I as in Indian, N as in November. So AITKIN, Minnesota. Minnesota is where this machine is from. And the other task I'll give you straight away is I've already looked it up, but I want to ask if you would be willing to look it up as well and put it in the live chat. I'm going to give you the serial number of Becky's machine, and if you would be so kind as to try to date it by looking it up under the Kenmore serial numbers. So if someone wants to get their pen out right now, get ready to write this serial number down, and then whoever looks it up, if you are the first one to put it in the live chat, and it might be a bracket, it might not be a targeted date. Kenmore usually has like brackets, and they have some open brackets as well, where you have to kind of interpret what the dating of the machine models are that are in that empty space. You look at the dates above, you look at the dates below, and then you basically extrapolate, to use a $2.50 word, you extrapolate the data of the dates above, the dates below, and then you might be able to form some sort of a little bracket as far as the date of this Kenmore machine. So let me give you the serial number. It is 158.251. Let me say that again. 158.15251. So 158.15251. Okay. Put this down a little bit. Okay. All right, let me go through and say good morning to everybody. And we will jump into this live stream. And I do have the contractors here for a final time today. So they're supposed to be coming in around 10 o'clock. And so we might hear them moving around upstairs. All right, let's say good morning. So no surprise, Susie from Minnesota was the first one in the live chat today. So good morning to Susie. Susie also shared with me that she was having a chat with Candido out in New York, and they were talking about their sewing spaces. And if Susie gives me permission, I might show the pictures of her sewing area, which looks beautiful. And it literally, in my mind's eye, when I saw these pictures, these sewing space out in Minnesota, she actually doesn't have one sewing space. I think she said she has two, and soon we'll have three sewing spaces. It just set up beautifully, set up absolutely gorgeous. And I was thinking, boy, we could shoot some live streams in that space. And the Schmetz people, the Bernina people, and all the other big shots that follow our work would be like, whoa, we better step it up. Susie is like top shelf as far as her layout for her sewing space. It really is quite lovely. I didn't see any pictures of Candido's space. It might just be as spectacular, but I was really impressed. I thought it was really cool. So if, if Susie sends me a text and gives me a thumbs up or something to share those pictures that she sent me, I'll certainly do that. Okay, that was a text from Susie letting me know that Becky is in the live stream, and that's great. Great to have the owner here. It's always great to have the owners here, isn't it? And if Becky wants to share, I don't remember a specific story that she shared about this Kenmore, but if Becky wants to share a little bit more about the story of this machine, its roots, how it came across, and all of that, the family history, the acquisition of this treasure, all that kind of stuff. That would be super cool. It's always great to know the provenance story behind a sewing machine that we're presenting on this channel. So I'll leave that up to Becky, whatever she wants to share, or some of you can also ask her questions as well about the machine as we're kind of going through it and learning more about this Kenmore. Okay, I was just double checking. And I think that is it. Oh, Susie gave me permission to share the pictures. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick while I'm thinking about that. I'll also share a ridiculous picture that I sent to Susie for fun of Hank. And most of you know who Hank is. Hank is this wondrous canine whirlwind of a dog that was adopted from the local humane society here in the greater Oconto area that we did a fundraiser for in the thick of the pandemic a couple years back. But Hank is now, and the rest of you that have dogs or other pets, you can let me know if this is just unique, to Hank, or if this is something that your pets do as well. But Hank has all of a sudden gotten into the habit where he wants to take all of his toys into the backyard. And then when I bring him back inside, he'll very carefully choose one of the toys that he's taken out there to bring back inside again. So on one of the last times that I took him out, this particular toy, which is a really interesting toy, I'll see if I can show you a close-up of it. He's holding onto it and he's getting ready to take it outside, almost like it's a weapon to use against the squirrels that are in the backyard that are always in the play of tormenting him. They'll stay on the ground just long enough as he's bolting out, and then they'll shoot up the tree and they'll do their little squirrel chattering, mocking him from their safe position up the tree. So I think in his mind's eye, he was taking this toy out with the thought, if I can somehow lob this thing up into the tree, maybe I can knock that squirrel down and finally get him. I don't know how dogs think. Maybe there's a book out there, how dogs think or something. I need to buy it because then I would understand it. But this was Hank doing his thing. Holding that toy, getting ready to launch out the door. And when he goes out the door, he doesn't like come out, with some speed. I mean, he's like lightning. So you can imagine him carrying this huge lumpy toy in his mouth as he's bolting out and almost stumbling over his own feet. He's quite a sight to behold. Oh, and I also shared this with Susie as well. Susie is our master gardener. So I shared this picture. These are in the back area of the workshop right now. I don't know if you can see those or not. The light is kind of reflecting off of them. There they are. I share this with Emma as well, and I just see them as flowers, but both of these ladies straight away they knew what these flowers were. I never planted them. They just pop up. Kind of like some of the other flowers in front of the workshop that I showed you guys. Let's see here. So this is one of the pictures of Susie's workspace that I thought was just quite spectacular. And you'll notice on the right side of the picture in the table is a Kenmore machine. And Susie was really excited because she's had a Kenmore machine, I think she said, for over 3 decades, maybe 4 decades. I don't remember what the latest count was, but you'll see her Kenmore in the shot as well. Then she also sent me a quick little video clip. See if I can show you this video clip. I'm working on it. Technology has the better part of me. I think it'll loop. Wait a second. Let me start it over. Maybe I'm easily impressed. I don't think so. But I don't know if you buy that as a kit where you can mount this to your wall, or if it's like some sort of a piece of furniture. Where I have no idea, but it looks so beautifully set up, doesn't it? It really is quite spectacular, quite spectacular. So I'll have to ask Candido for pictures of his. And Susie did share a couple of other pictures of other workspace, but that gives you an idea of how serious Susie is about her sewing environment, her sewing space. When she walks into it, it gives her a certain feeling, and it really inspires her to create things. And all of you probably in your sewing space. And I know that I'm going to probably get notes from the Bernina people, because I was talking with one of them, and they said to me, Scott, stop calling it a sewing space. Don't call it a sewing space. It's a sewing suite. SUITE. It's a sewing suite. That's what it is. So I stand corrected. Apparently, it's a sewing suite. When you set up something like Susie has it and others that are part of the Cow Country family, you set it up and it's just a beautiful display of thread and material and other gadgets that relate to your sewing projects. Really is quite a sight to behold. It really is quite beautiful, isn't it? All right, let me go through and say hey to everybody, and we'll start jumping into this pretty quick here. Because like I say, the contractors should be here in about 5-10 minutes, and they have my permission to be loud. So we might hear bump, 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 bop, 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 all that kind of stuff up above. So, all right. Give me just a moment here. I'm also going to do a quick audio check on my phone and make sure that our audio sounds good and that our streaming sounds good as well. Oh, it's a commercial. Come on, I want to skip this commercial. Let me skip this commercial.
Hi, guys. It's Peter Kittle.
Hi, Peter. Yeah, that's great. Print scan. Hey, all right. Skip ad. Yay. Print scan. Hey, all right. Skip ad. Yay. All right, so I'm checking audio. Audio sounds good. Skip ad. All right, so I'm checking audio. Audio sounds good. Skip ad. Video looks good as well. Hopefully on your end as well, the video and the audio sound good right now. They're coming through clear. I'm going to turn my volume down. Turn my volume all the way down. And open up the live chat as well so I can kind of watch that. Live chat is moved. I have no idea what that means. Okay, well, I will not worry about it right now. I will just set it over here so I can kind of monitor things. Okay, so let me finish what I was starting to do and go around and say hey to everybody real quick. So again, good morning to Susie from Minnesota. Good morning to Emma. Good morning to Kevin Orr from the East Coast. Good morning to Al Koss from California. Alex. Let's see here. Who else we have? Good morning to our ambassador to Needles, Jenny, and also part of the leadership team. Great to have Jenny here. All right. Who else do we have? Ken. Good morning to my friend Candido from New York. Still scrolling. Now I see a new name. And it might not be new to all of you, but I have not seen the name Wayne before. Wayne. So if Wayne is brand new, I know you will make Wayne feel welcome. Wayne Esser. Wayne Esser is in the live chat. Great to have Wayne here. Great to have you here. Obviously, welcome to our owner, Becky. She's in the live chat as well, and her screen name is Rabawas or something like that. I feel like I'm saying, I don't know. I feel like I'm saying like riddle or something like that, but it's I always have trouble pronouncing any name. So, at any rate, welcome to Becky, the owner. Welcome to Becky. Great to have you here. Good morning to Emma. Oh, good morning to Kathy King as well. Great to have Kathy King in the live chat. And it looks like Alex looked up the dating of this Kenmore, and Alex put 1967 question mark. 1967 question mark. And I think that's pretty close based on the Kenmore bracketing of things. I put down that this machine would be dated somewhere between 1965 and 1967. So Alex from California is spot on with saying 1967. We've got some latitude here, so I'm going to leave it up to the owner, Becky, to decide what year she wants to place her machine at, either 1965, 1966, or 1967. Any of those dates, I think, would be appropriate based on the records and archives of Kenmore between 1965 to 1967. So it's up to the owner now. It's up to the owner. All right. Still scrolling. Also, good morning to Mesa Group, a.k.a. Bill, also from Minnesota, just like this machine. And Bill, you might remember we sent him one of Susie's hats, and he wears it in some of the live streams and videos that he does. And then also his daughter, we didn't realize it was her birthday, but we sent her a hat. And then I shared that picture of Bill's beautiful daughter, Lisa, I believe her name is, Lisa from Minnesota, wearing hats. So we've got the entire family over in Minnesota, around that state, wearing these hats that Susie's created, which is kind of cool, super cool. Okay, and I think I made it to the bottom. I don't think I missed anyone, but if I missed anyone, please accept my apology. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the leadership team to take care of the family and to manage the live chat. And let me just say this, because we had something that came up not at the last live stream. Let me just say this real quick. We had something that came up at the last live stream. Excuse me. Let me start over. We had something come up not at the last live stream, but the live stream before that, where someone that was in the live chat had written a comment. There was no context for it. I believe it said something like McNasty. And most of us, if someone just walked up to us randomly, and said McNasty, we'd be like, what? Huh? I'm not following. So this person, in good faith, we were talking about World War II. We were talking about this machine that we were presenting at the time and all that. And this person just wrote in the live chat, McNasty, you should read it, or something like that. Well, Susie, like me, not having any context, what does McNasty mean? Didn't see that it was relevant, and exercised her authority as one of my leadership team members in deleting the comment and then explaining to the person that it doesn't seem to relate to our topic. That person, if they had given context, we might have been able to figure it out. My point is this, so we can jump into this machine and not blah, blah, blah. My leaders are in charge when I step away to the machine, and I trust them implicitly. Now, sometimes we can not understand the intent of what someone is writing, and that leader can always, if that person is willing to, in a civil way, say, no, I didn't mean anything bad by this. This is the context. This is what I meant by what I wrote. Then that leader can go back and undelete, or can make that comment viewable. I believe. And then there could be a friendly discussion of understanding. But this person in that particular live stream must have taken great offense to it, and they got a little bit dicey. So just realize we're not perfect. And so if you want to share something in the live chat, which we love, if it's a little bit obscure, but in your mind it relates to what we're talking about, give a little bit of context so that one of the leadership team members, as I'm focused over here, doesn't see it as something that is not germane to what we're doing, and either delete it or hide it or something like that. Help us out so that we can help you in being even more able to share things to enrich what we do on this channel. We want you to share. We want you to bring your wisdom and bring your insights, but please, please, please give us context for it so that, that we can understand, I see how it connects. But I know Susie felt bad about that. I told her, I said, you did the right thing. We don't know what does McNasty mean with no context. I'll never, let me just say this. And Emma and Susie talked afterwards, and, kind of just talked through it a little bit. I'm never going to second guess one of my leadership team members, because I've handpicked each one of them, and I have total faith and confidence in them. And also the other leaders have vetted the leaders that have followed them as well. So it's like a double look at that person that's coming onto our team. So, if you're coming here to share, wonderful. Just help us out by giving us context so that we can connect the dots. And one of the leadership team members, to keep us family friendly, to keep us on point, to keep us on target with the topic at hand, doesn't make a reasonable assumption that your sharing doesn't relate and delete it. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. But the last thing I want to say is when I turn it over to the leaders, they're in charge, and I trust that they're going to make good and fair and wise decisions. And so, you know, if you share something that's not relevant and it gets deleted, there you go. If you as we occasionally have, but haven't had for a while, thank goodness. If we have somebody that comes in to create riffraff and to be disruptive, and you get banned from the channel, you get your comments deleted, you get thrown into a timeout, whatever it is, don't do what some of the people have done in the past and reach out to me afterwards and say, hey, so and so. I remember this happened to Paula Noel one time. Paula Noel used to work with us on the channel, and she had there was a guy from Finland, Dr. somebody, you guys remember him, the guy from Finland. He would throw inappropriate things out all the time, and then he would reach out to me afterwards and he would complain about Paula taking action against him. Really? You're not going to make any headway with me. As Emma told Susie afterwards, I've got complete confidence in my leadership team. If they ban you from the channel, there's a good reason. If they delete your comments, there's a good reason. But with that said, help us out by sharing the context of what you're wanting to share. If it's a little bit obscure, so that we can connect the dots and your comment can stand there and we can learn from it. Okay. I hope I'm bringing some clarity to this, but I wanted to address that specifically to reinforce all of the leaders in what they do. They don't get paid for this. They volunteer their time and talent because they love the family and they love cow country. And I'd like to believe they also love me and the good work that I'm trying to do. So they are a blessing to us, and they really do maintain this as a family-friendly environment as we're going through these live streams. So thank God for them, but thank God also for all of you that step out and share things and help us to become even richer because of your insights. Just like this gentleman that typed McNasty, you should read it. I Googled it, and he was a very prominent person associated with World War II. So he had good intentions, but with no context. Good for Susie, and any of the other leaders that are always siding with caution to keep it a safe place for all of us. So with that, leaders, you are in charge, and I'm going to get going on this machine. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, Dr. T. That's right, Dr. T. Dr. T. Okay. All right. So another we got it identified as far as the bracket year for this machine. You may have guessed by the music that was playing at the beginning. Two questions: where was this machine made? And also, what size motor does this Kenmore have? So if you want to type that into the live chat, what size motor, and also where was this machine made? We know it was made in that bracket that Alex from California and I kind of put together. Now tell me where it was made and what size engine or motor this machine has that we're going to be sewing with today. Also, if you want to share about the hook system too, I'll give you okay, three of them. Where was it made, size motor, and the type of hook system on this machine, the type of hook system. Yeah, let's do all three. Let's do all three. All right. So let me show you of this machine. I don't think I've done that yet. This Kenmore. And this is a free arm design. This comes off right here. It's got a nice little support leg, so you can have an extended workspace, but it also has the free arm capabilities as well if you need to do cuffs or other things like that. It does have a faceplate that opens. I'm not going to open it right now because the threading point on this Kenmore kind of goes through the faceplate, and I don't want to screw things up even before I start. But it really is a really a fine made machine, and it is quite heavy too. So you can tell the quality of construction is there. So kind of walking around the machine real quick, I'll just show you walking around the machine. Let me move it a little bit closer because I have my short cord on today on the camera, so I'm working with a little bit more of a constraint. So on this side of the machine, you've got the nomenclature plate that gives us all the particulars on the machine. It gives us the model, gives us the motor size, gives us all the specifics of the machine. On-off switch for the light. And yes, I did replace Becky's incandescent bulb. This was in the machine, really quite a nice incandescent bulb, but it was generating a lot of heat and not nearly enough light. So now she has this really beautiful LED light in there as well. So less heat, more light. Across the front of the machine, fairly straightforward. Down here, we have stitch length on the bottom. We have stitch length right there. Over here, we have reverse. You just push it down and hold it when you want to sew in reverse, and then release it when you want to resume sewing forward again. This inner control right here is actually, I'll call it the mode control of the machine. It's going to allow you to select the stitch output by color coordinating the stitch. So for example, this first stitch line right here, which is basically, it's showing a stretch straight stitch and then a zigzag next to it. The zigzag you can see is in orange, and the stretch straight stitch is in white. So if we're going to be doing the zigzag, or if we're going to be doing a standard straight stitch, we want to set this marker right here on the little orange dot, the little orange circle. And then we're going to get the output of whatever is going to be in the orange column. So if we're wanting to go after the zigzag, if we're wanting to go after the blind hem stitch, the 3-point zigzag, this stitch here, which is kind of like almost a little mountain stitch, or this one over here, which I think in the book is some sort of a stretch type blind hem stitch as well. I'd have to look in the book. Becky didn't send a book with a machine, but I found another Kenmore machine book, and I think that's what they called it. Let me see if I can pull it out real quick. This is the book that I had in the workshop, and it kind of relates to this machine quite nicely. But I think it showed the stitches somewhere. Now you can see it's a real close match to Becky's machine right there. Real close match. Yeah, I won't worry about it. We usually just make up our own stitch names anyway, but I'm guessing that Becky already has a book similar to this, and she's able to look up these stitch names as well if she chooses to do that. I'm really kind of determined to see if I can find that, but I probably won't. Let's see. Special stitch, regular stitch, blind stitch, overcast. Oh, okay. So that's considered, okay, I got it. That's considered an overcast stitch right there in the white column. So you've got the blind hem, and then you've got the overcast stitch next to it. What else do we have? Box stitch. Oh, maybe that's what it's called. So I think this one over here, the orange one that I called like a mountain stitch, is actually called a box stitch. And if y'all already knew that, then you're smarter than I am, because I was just calling it a mountain stitch. But I think the manual is talking about this one as a box stitch. I think so anyway. Just seeing if there's any others that I can identify real quick. models. And you see this manual, they break it out between a variety of different models. You've got a model 1521, you've got a model 1560. So Kenmore, like a lot of the makers, will take a manual and they'll have multiple models in it. So you have to read the fine print real carefully, because sometimes certain things described in the manual will relate to another model and will not even relate to yours. So you got to be mindful of that. Let's see here. That sounds like the guy's probably coming in right now. Let's see here. Yeah, so anyway, I won't spend any more time about the different stitch options, but this machine has, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, has right around 12 stitches if you count the straight stitch as well. The straight stitch. So it's got a good variety of stitches available as you're going through this. So finishing up what I was covering here, I was talking about the different modes. So when we're looking to sew these different stitches across here that are controlled by this dial on top, this dial control, this stitch selector on top, if we're wanting to go after one of the orange stitches, then we're going to set it here. If we want to go after one of the white stitches, then we're going to change this mode changer right here so that the white dot is on top. You can see right now we've got orange, orange. I think you can see that, orange, orange. And if we're wanting to go after one of the white stitches, like the stretch, straight stitch, the overcast, I think it was called, and all these other stitches, then we have to rotate it over here. And then there's other modes on this machine as well for buttonholes. You already know my position on buttonholes, so I'm not gonna go into those and even describe those functions. But they are available on this machine, which is great. So for a basic straight stitch, we're going to start set up like this with the orange, orange, and we're going to set our stitch width, which is this outer dial right here. You can see me moving it right there. We're going to move this all the way to that orange, which is the equivalent of setting the stitch width on 0, which is going to give us a standard straight stitch. If we want to go from the straight stitch to the stretch straight stitch, all we have to do is turn this to the white mode to go after that straight stretch stitch right there. And then when we want to stop being in the that other mode, we just rotate this back again so it's orange, orange again. And then if we want to go from a regular straight stitch, right now we're going to generate a straight stitch, then we just rotate this dial anywhere between 1 and 4. Okay, I saw Emma's question. So right now with this on 4, 3, 2, or 1, we're going to be generating a zigzag, a standard zigzag, because we're in the orange mode on here. So again, straight stitch, zigzag. We want to go all of a sudden to this stretch straight stitch. Then we're just going to rotate this inner mode dial right here to the white one. And then we're going to get that stretch straight stitch. I love stretch straight stitches. They really are fabulous, really quite fabulous. And then down here, I talked about this already, stitch length, stitch width. This is the mode selector, reverse. The threading on this machine is pretty straightforward, but I'm going to go over it anyway because there's a little bit of a tricky twist right over here. A little bit of a tricky twist. So we're coming across the top. Again, I'll just show you from a top-down shot. This is our stitch selector on top of this Kenmore machine right there. Hopefully you can see that in the shot. So again, right now we're set in this mode right here, which is going to be a straight and a zigzag type mode along with our stretch straight stitch. And they give you this little orange dot to kind of show you that this is kind of our default setting that we're going to be operating in most of the time. Most people are going to be using this Kenmore for straight stitching, zigzag, maybe occasionally a stretch straight stitch. And this is where we'll set it. And then as we want to change the stitch selection on top, we just rotate this like this from one point to another. And the beauty of this control is we can rotate it either way. We don't have to go on like some of the FOF machines where we have to rotate that stitch selector or that control in one singular direction. This one is multiple directions. You can go clockwise, counterclockwise, it doesn't matter. So coming off the top, here's our spool of thread. We're going to be coming across the machine like this. There's a tensioner right here that we use for bobbin winding, but you're also going to use this also when you're threading the machine. You're going to bring that thread around this tensioner and then through this thread guide by snapping it in from the right to the left. Then we're going to drop down to the tension discs. And as I always say a million times, I say this all the time, make sure that your presser foot lever is in the up position when you thread any sewing machine. You don't want tension on those discs because then you're not going to be able to draw that thread all the way in and you're not going to be able to get the desired result of having proper upper tension. So make sure your presser foot is up in the back and then draw that thread in nice and deep. You're then going to go through this little thread guide right here. You're going to snap that thread in there after you draw this take-up spring. Hopefully you can see that. You draw that take-up spring all the way up, and then that thread will saddle in to this little notch right there. You've got to get it settled in that little notch that I'm pointing these shears at. So again, you just kind of draw that take-up spring up when you come around the bottom, and then you get that thread into that thread guide. You're then going to go up to your take-up arm, and you're going to thread this from right to left. Then you're going to come right over to here. You're going to thread through this thread guide as well. Just snap the thread in. And again, this thread guide is part of the faceplate. So just be aware of that, that if you go and decide to open the faceplate for some reason, verify and check your threading afterwards that it hasn't knocked something out of alignment. And then down here, you've got these two little thread guides right here. You basically draw the thread in and the thread kind of snaps into place and it kind of locks into place right there. And then you've got one more thread guide. Let me shut off the light real quick. You have one more thread guide just right there above the needle, and you have to draw that in from the back. And then you're going to thread this needle from front to back. Now, I know when I asked about hook system, a couple of folks said, is it a rotary hook system on this machine? No, it's actually an oscillating hook system, which was very typical of a lot of the Japanese machines, which is where this machine was made. It came from the beautiful country of Japan. That's why I have Umi and her friend out as well as kind of spokespeople for this Japanese machine. And this machine does come with a 1-amp motor. It comes with a 1-amp motor. And I know there was another question that came out as well. Is this machine aluminum? The answer is yes, it is. You can see right now I'm not getting a magnetic response. And so this machine is made out of a non-ferrous material. I should say it's most likely going to be aluminum, but there are certainly metals that are non-ferrous. Non-ferrous means that they don't have a magnetism. And you would never know that this is made from, if it is, you would never know that it's made from aluminum or another non-ferrous material because it is quite heavy. It's quite a heavy machine. And I know that Becky from Minnesota could attest to that. When you lift this machine, you know that you're lifting a fairly heavy machine. But that's the way Japanese manufacturers would build their machines. They built them out of very heavy gauge steel. And many of you know, not necessarily this machine from the 1960s, but the earlier machines that would have been closer to the time right after World War II. A lot of those Japanese machines were made from harvested metal from the seas of Japan, where either American or Japanese Navy vessels were sunk. And because metal was still in high demand and was really there was quite a shortage for metal at the time because of the war effort. The result was you got metal wherever you could get metal. Metal was a very high demand commodity, and so they would harvest these sunken Navy vessels that had been sitting in salt water. And the result was, over time, the metal that they used to make those sewing machines, from the 1950s or even the late 1940s, that stuff starts to rust from the inside out. Thankfully, Becky's machine is made later, and in all likelihood has none of that salt-soaked metal that would have been used. Plus, that metal for Navy vessels is gonna have a magnetic response because it is ferrous. So I think we're safe as far as no metal issues with this machine. Also, I didn't show it up here, but this is our presser foot controller. It's got a little metered marker on there with numbers. And depending on the type of sewing you can basically start from ground zero. You push this outer ring and this pops up. The further you push this down, the more presser foot pressure you're going to have. So if we're sewing something super duper light, like a real thin cotton, maybe who knows, maybe a satin or a silk or something like that, we're only going to push this down a little ways and have a real light presser foot pressure. As we're sewing heavier materials or multiple layers, we're going to be pushing this down further and further and further and further and further so that we have adequate presser foot pressure for good feed of that material or multiple layers. So just realize that this is available on a lot of the Kenmore machines like Becky's. It's a wonderful innovation that gives that sewist very, very quick ability to determine what presser foot pressure they want and to change it. Maybe you pushed it down too far. Just push that, it pops back up, go back down to that setting that you wanted, and you can stop there. And the other beautiful feature of this is when you release it and there's no presser foot pressure, you've got a large discretion on that presser foot down here to be able to raise it up manually like this and to get those thicker materials into place. I mean, when I push it all the way up, look at the clearance underneath that presser foot. It's crazy the amount of clearance you can get. So never forget to re-engage that presser foot pressure or you'll have all kinds of headaches on your hands. So I've got that back down into place. We're all set, I think, pretty much as far as the threading of the machine. We do have an oscillating hook system in here. So this Kenmore is going to be able to handle the heavier thread and get the job done very, very nicely without jamming up the raceway. And when you're threading this Kenmore, you're going to make sure that the thread, let me just show you real quick. Actually, I can even show you in the book. I think I can find it fairly quick. Where is it? Somewhere. Winding a bobbin. Yeah, you can see here in this image, I think you can see in this image to some extent. You can see the recommendation is that the thread be coming over the top. So as that bobbin is in the machine and it's turning, what direction is that going to be turning if the thread is over the top when you insert it into the machine? Yeah, if anyone wants to guess, you can certainly do that. So a little bit on the setup on the machine real quick. I just want to cover that real quick as well. The setup on the machine is we have our old faithful dual duty XP thread on this machine today. It's a good utility type thread. I wouldn't say it's definitely not a poor thread. It's quite nice, and but it's not a premium type thread either. But you can buy it at Joann's on the weekend. You pay for 3 of these, you get 2 free, and you can do the same thing with the Gutermann thread as well. So if you're looking for a good all-purpose thread, but you don't want to pay a ton of money, go to your local Joann's on the weekend, buy 3, get 2 free. You know, it's hard to beat that. You walk out of the store with 5 spools of thread, whether it's Coates & Clark XP or whether it's Gutermann, and you only paid for 3 of those spools of thread. So that's really a good deal. All right. What else did I want to cover? I think I pretty much covered everything at this point. I pretty much covered everything. Let's see here. Let me just check my notes and see if I got anything. And then we will jump into a great machine from Minnesota. And put this baby to work. Give me just a moment. I'd like to make sure my ducks are in a row, as they say. Okay, covered setup, covered orientation of the bobbin, threading of the machine, controls of the machine. What else, if anything? Okay. And I did answer Kathy's question. Kathy had a question about it being aluminum. Emma had sent me that note. Okay. Some other things. And I don't know if Becky ended up sharing any particulars of this machine, but I would definitely love to have her do that if she hasn't done so already, so that we can appreciate this machine even more. Okay. Checking some other notes. Everything looks like, I think I got everything. I don't always catch everything, but once in a blue moon, I'll nail it, which is always good. It's always good to have things covered. If I already showed Susie's pictures of her sewing space. If Candido, I'd mentioned Candido earlier in the live stream. If Candido wants to share by texting me pictures that he shared with Susie about his sewing space as well, that would be totally awesome. And I will share those with the group also. Mentioned it that way. We've covered that base. Let's see. All right, I'm going to check my audio again before I jump into this. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Let's see. Testing. All right, I'm going to check my audio again before I jump into that. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Let's see. Okay, so the audio sounds good. I hope you're getting good video quality as well. The live streaming is a tricky business because I've shared this before with all of you. A lot of people talk about downloading doesn't mean anything when you're live streaming. It's all about the upload. So I'm hoping speed stays strong during the live stream today, and we don't have any disconnection issues. All right, let me get this material into place. We'll start with some 100% cotton, and then we'll launch into some of the other materials that I have cut already. I've got denim. This is more the standard denim. This is not the spandex denim. I've got bubblegum material. Let's see what else I have. I've got protected full grain leather. I've got genuine elk hide. I've got saddle grade leather. And we're going to be sewing through 2 layers of this saddle grade leather today. The Kenmore machines from the 1950s and 60s really are workhorse machines. And so with that 1 amp motor, it's amazing what you're able to get through. I believe Susie told me on her Kenmore that she's had for almost, I believe, 4 decades. She's never run into anything that she can't sew with that machine. Never has run into anything she can't sew with it. So we're going to be doing a variety of different leathers. Those are all of our leather sew-offs. And I don't have a leather needle in this machine today, but I do have a size 100 universal Schmetz needle. So with a size 100 Schmetz universal needle, we should be able to get through most any of this without any difficulty at all, including the denim. And so I'm going to start. We're just going to kind of jump into this. I'm going to move Umi and her friend back to a safe position so I don't end up knocking them over. And see if we can showcase the beauty of this Japanese machine. I've actually gone into circles where people are really negative on Japanese machines, and I don't understand why. They're built incredibly well. They're incredibly strong. And I think everyone should, if you have multiple machines, I think everyone should own a Japanese machine. And so many varieties that you really have your choice of, you really have your choice in your pick of machines. You truly do. I thought I cleaned these, but they already got dirty somehow. Crazy. Crazy how quickly glasses get dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Okay, I'm going to pop my Coke in my cool little, whatever this thing is called that wraps around the can. Again, from Iowa, from Kevin and Doreen, to keep my sodas cold while we're in a live stream. I kind of took a bigger gulp than I should have. Oh boy. If you ever get that burn in your from carbonation. Woo! Wow. Okay. Try to get my voice back a little bit here before I jump into this too fast and furious. All right. So let's start with a basic straight stitch. And again, our setting for, excuse me, our setting for a basic straight on this machine, our setting for a basic straight stitch on this machine is going to be lining these two orange dots up, which is going to put us at a 0 stitch width and also set us in the utility type mode of our straight and our zigzag mode, along with our straight stretch stitch, blah, blah, blah. And then we have to decide what we want our stitch length to be at. I've already set it at the longest point. So we're already set on 6, which is going to give us approximately 6 stitches per inch. We can adjust it down accordingly all the way to close to 30 stitches per inch. So we should get a nice long stitch. Then we'll switch it over by adjusting our outer ring so we can lay down a zigzag. And then we'll also lay down our straight stretch stitch as well, which is going to require tri-motion from this Kenmore machine. So you're going to be seeing those feed dogs when we get to our third show off. You're going to see those feed dogs manipulating that material to generate that stretch straight stitch afterwards. Okay, so let's start with a straight stitch and then we'll go from there. And again, I always say it, make sure your take-up arm is all the way up. All right, here we go. A standard straight stitch. Here we go. And when you go to that larger setting with this Kenmore, your straight stitch is going to be long. It's a nice long straight stitch. Not like that Bernina 125 that I presented several weeks ago. That Bernina 125, that was the first portable free arm zigzag sewing machine in the world. That one, because they were focused more on the fact that it was a zigzag, you might remember that one had pretty teeny tiny straight stitching. This one is not the case at all. It's got a beautiful long straight stitch, beautiful formation, beautiful presentation. And our lock stitch as well. This is our lock stitch on the back side. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And again, we are sewing with a harpoon needle, as Sonny would say. You know, size 100, which equates to a size 16. So when we do some of these stitches that require a little bit more needle movement, we won't have quite the level of stitch definition that we might get from a smaller embroidery style needle. It won't be quite as detailed, but it still should be quite good. All right, let's do the zigzag now. And we only have to change one thing to get that zigzag output. I'll drop that back down. Now we're going to go over to our stitch width, and we're going to move it from the orange dot, the outer ring, to somewhere between 1 and 4. I'll probably go to like right around 3.5, right about to there. And then I've got to decide on my stitch length for the zigzag. So we're at the widest right now. I think we'll go to right around 8. So we're taking our stitch length to 8 and our stitch width to 3.5. And now we should be able to lay down that zigzag stitch next to this straight stitch. All right, so now a zigzag. And even though we're not at the largest size, that is a beautiful, huge, ginormous zigzag. It's a beautiful zigzag on this Kenmore. Beautiful zigzag. Let's take a look at this closer. So this is the zigzag we just laid down. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And our lock stitch. So right now with our tension set right around on, let's see, 4, 5. We're set right on 5 right now for the tension. We've got a real good balance for our cotton sew-off. This again is 100% cotton. You can see how our upper tension works. This little marker right here is going to tell you where we're set. So with a maximum potentially of 9, actually more than 9, it's really 11. We go all the way up to 11 on this upper tension. We're only set at about 5 right now. So we've got a very good balance. We've got a very, very good balance between our bobbin case down in that oscillating hook system and our upper tension. We don't have this cranked way up like you'll sometimes see people having to do, because that bobbin case has been adjusted up so high where you got to bump this up high as well. And if you don't understand the concept of tension on the machine, this upper tension right here, that upper tension right there is going to be pulling up to define that lock stitch. The bobbin case down below is going to be pulling down to define that top stitch. They're pulling against each other like this continuously. This one is pulling up. This one down below is pulling down, and they're in a tug of war. So when you get them working together, you don't have to max out either one of them, and you can get a very nice balance, but you'll still have enough latitude in being able to adjust the upper tension so you can manage uniquenesses when you move between a wide field of materials. So if you have a material that has a higher concentration of, say, vinyl, and you're concerned about whether or not that lock stitch is going to get the definition it needs, then you can always adjust this up slightly to offset that material difference. And then you know that you're in a solid position for being able to deliver a really, really good outcome. So we've done these two so far. We've done that straight stitch. We've done that zigzag. And now we're going to move to that stretch straight stitch by changing the mode of the machine. Let me get this back into position. And we'll move over to that stretch straight stitch now. That's harder to say than you think. Try saying it right now. Straight, stretch, stitch. It's a little bit of alliteration. Straight, stretch, stitch. A little bit of alliteration. It kind of plays with your tongue this early in the morning a little bit. Okay. So now we want to do that stretch straight stitch. That's right here on the front of the machine. And it's also part of this setting right there. So we don't have to change the stitch setting at all. It's right there. But we have to change the mode. We have to change the mode by rotating this inner dial right here so that we're set on the white setting right there. And then we have to decide after we move this over, because we got to have this on 0 to get a straight stitch, obviously. We have to decide on our stitch length also. And I'm going to say we're probably going to go with, for the straight stretch stitch, we're going to go probably right around, what do we do, right around 7. We'll set that right about on 7. And I should have everything set correctly at this point. I've got my stitch selector set to our regular straight stitch, our zigzag, and then our straight stretch stitch, blah, blah, blah. Our straight stretch stitch, which is identified by these markers right here. Then I've got my stitch width set on 0. And then I've got my modifier, as Kenmore calls it. I'll call it the mode modifier. Our mode modifier is then set on the white designator, which is going to give us this stitch output for that particular stitch, which is the straight stretch stitch. I'll say it slower. So let's try this straight stretch stitch, and then you can see how that tri-motion works on this Kenmore model. And tri-motion, again, is going to be the machine cam stack is going to be manipulating those feed dogs back and forth very rapidly to generate the output that we want. All right, so let's give this a go. Hopefully I have everything set up correctly. Also notice where my take-up arm is right now. That's a bad place to launch, so I'm going to rotate it all the way up so it's on the downstroke. Right about there. Yeah. Let's check out this straight stretch stitch. At least I hope that's what we get. Like I said, I'm never going to know the machine as well as the owner, but hopefully I got this one right. All right, here we go. Let's stop there and I'll take you down to the action. Stop right about there. So that again is our straight stretch stitch. It's really quite a lovely stitch too. So if I can clip these threads, we'll take a look at it a little bit more closely. Okay, so our straight stretch stitch. Don't try to say that fast. You'll spit on yourself like I am. There it is. Beautiful stitching. Very, very lovely stitching. Let's go like this as well. I think when you look at it in a column, it presents even better, doesn't it? It presents even better. So again, certain people have a bias against Kenmores. I don't get it. The stitch quality on this Kenmore far exceeds a lot of the other manufacturers' stitch quality. Really does. Quite a lovely, lovely stitch. And again, we're sewing with a harpoon needle too. Yeah, lovely stitching. Lock stitch. Here's our lock stitch. And all in all, it looks like we don't have much puckering on the back, so the presser foot pressure is set pretty well right now. Sometimes if you get that puckering, it's because that presser foot pressure is too heavy for whatever you're trying to sew. So right here, we've got, I think, generally some really good-looking sew-offs. The material feed is spot on. It's enough, but not too much. And we've got a beautiful lock stitch as well. That's what we're looking at right now is a lock stitch. So 100% cotton. This Kenmore really likes this cotton a lot. You can tell that right away by the stitch output and the stitch quality. And we've got a great tension balance right now. So we're going to continue sewing on this 100% cotton and deliver all the other stitches that this Kenmore model can do by changing the mode or the modifier, as Kenmore calls it, and then also changing the stitch selector on top of the machine. But between the top stitch and the lock stitch, I think we've got a really good start in appreciating why there are groups that are so devoted and so passionate about Kenmores. That's the only machine that they're going to sew on. It's almost like the featherweight cult for Kenmore owners. And I don't know if Becky is part of that Kenmore cult or not, but I know that she loves this machine. And when I told her it was finally ready, she was very, very excited to get this machine to that finish line and get the machine heading back towards the great state of Minnesota, All right. So let's do some of the other stitching that we can do on this machine now. These again are the stitch options. You can look across this panel on the front. I think you can see that, hopefully. Well, let's see. There it is. I'm looking at the laptop to see. There it is. It's kind of in focus now. So I think we'll just kind of go in order. Our next options are this overcast and I believe this blind hem. So we're going to rotate that direction now. I think I'm going to do this the correct way. Let's see here. I believe that's going to be correct. Yeah, this should be our overcast and our blind hem. And I did was just turn this dial over to here. See that right there? So now we're going to do them in order. We'll do the orange one first. That means we have to take our modifier and we have to bring it back to the orange setting. So now we have orange and orange. And that's going to give us the orange stitch, which should be a blind hem. Now I have to adjust my stitch width. So let's see, for our blind hem, I think I'll go for the max. We'll go all the way to 4 for our stitch width. And then we have to decide on our stitch length. I'm going to go a little bit shorter on the blind hem, kind of tighten it up a little bit. We'll probably go to right around 10. Yeah, let's go to 11. Let's go right about there. Right about there, I think. So now to get this next stitch option, we set our stitch controller up here to the zigzag and the overcast, which coincides with this image right here. We want to go for the blind hem first, so we set our selector on orange, and our other one was on orange until we moved our stitch width. So we were like this originally. Now we're like this. And we set our stitch length right around 11. So let's go after this blind hem stitch now, and then we'll launch into the one right after that. There we go. All right, so blind hem stitch now. And I made that blind hem ginormous. I should have gone much shorter than I did, but you get the idea. And it really becomes up to you. It becomes your choice as far as the stitch length and stitch width when you have discretion to modify it, right? It's totally up to you. All right. I sewed pretty straight. I wouldn't say incredibly straight, but semi-straight anyway. All right. Why don't I do both of these stitch options? We'll do the overcast and then we'll look at both of them at the same time. So let me put this right back in. We'll do the other stitch on that particular part of the stitch selector, and then we'll look at the two together. So we've already done the blind hem, which is the orange one. Now we need to go after the overcast, the white one, and we have to change the mode or the modifier to access that stitch. So we turn this back to the white stitch now. And now we should be able to get this stitch output for the overcast right there. And then we have to decide, what about stitch width and length? I think I'm going to bump off the stitch width. Well, no, this is going to be a stitch that might require a little bit more space for that pattern. So I'm going to leave it on 4, but I am going to shorten this up a little bit over here, the stitch length. I'm going to take us down to right below 12. We're probably at about 11 right there, 11 stitches, 12 stitches per inch, something like that, in that range. So let's try this next one now and see what we think of that one. And again, we were able to get this one because we changed the modifier, the modifying control. All right, let's give this one a go. All right, here we go. Did I go too short? I think I went too short. Yeah, I'm bunching up down here, so I went too aggressive. I went too aggressive on the stitch length. I'm too aggressive, so we're going to have a little goopy gop here. See, I went all the way down to here. Let's see if we can lengthen that quite a bit. See if that will resolve our discrepancy. I'm going to go all the way from 11 all the way back up around 7. See if that gives us enough room to operate that particular pattern. And that's the reality when you're working with patterns. They need space to execute. And if you make it too constrained, then all of a sudden you're going to run into problems. All right, so here we go. Let's try it again. So you can learn from my mistake by looking right here. I started with a very aggressive stitch length. I went all the way down to about 11, almost 10 stitches per inch. And no, I'm sorry, opposite. I went to about 13 to 14 stitches per inch. I was looking at the dial and I read it wrong. So I was actually closer 14, almost 15 stitches per inch. It was too aggressive for this overcast type pattern. So this is what we got. Right there, there was not enough movement. Then we adjusted that stitch length to around 7 stitches per inch, and it executed the pattern beautifully. So realize that with some of these patterns that require that tri-motion, and by the design of the pattern, they need to have a little bit more workspace, a little bit more space to stretch that pattern out. If you go too aggressive like I did, you'll get a result like that instead of a result like this. Okay? Let's take a closer look at these now. Take a closer look. Okay, again, so on this particular stitch selector mode, we did, first of all, the blind hem, a very, very big blind hem, and then we moved into this overcast stitch. So some beautiful, beautiful results, lovely, lovely stitching. With the exception of right here where I was too aggressive on that length, tried to make it too tight. And when you're working with tri-motion, that's not a good decision. So I made a wrong decision, but you can learn from that wrong decision and see the result. We just simply lengthened that stitch, and all of a sudden we got a great outcome. So just be aware of that. Certain patterns are going to require a bigger playground to execute the stitch properly. So far we've done on this 100% cotton, we've done a straight stitch, we've done a zigzag, we've done a straight stretch stitch, and we've done a blind hem stitch, and now we've done this overcast stitch as well. And this Kenmore is really, really doing an outstanding job, really a beautiful job of page 34 type stitching. We'll turn it over, look at that lock stitch now. You can look at that that blind hem stitch and then also that overcast stitch. The spacing, the formation of the stitching is absolutely spot on. The precision of Japanese sewing machines, if you really give them an opportunity, is really quite impressive. And I think that's why Becky loves this machine so much, is it really is not only a workhorse, but it's also a precision machine also. And it's going to lay down stitching that is off the charts. So, yeah, beautiful stitching, beautiful stitching. Very, very nice. And again, on these, you can see on this overcast where you have these bottom joining points, that are basically a modified type straight stitch. They're not going to have as much clarity because we're working with a size 100ths, which is a size 16 needle. If we had an embroidery needle in here, like a size 11 needle, that straight stitch joining point would even have greater clarity. It's still quite good considering the size of the needle that we're working with. Still quite good. So our lock stitch and our top stitch. Yeah, very, very nice sewing. Beautiful sewing with this Kenmore. Okay, so let me get the material back in place. I almost feel like grabbing my Guggenheim scissors and cutting that little blah, blah, blah off there, which I might do real quick because it's just distracting to me. And it was my error. It was my error in trying to set that stitch length too short. There we go. Now we're starting with a clean slate. And I probably will make other errors, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's move on to the next stitch option that we have, which is going to be a 3-point zigzag. And then also this really pretty stitch here. I never can remember the proper name of it, but this one right here, you can see that. Really a lovely stitch. So the first thing we need to do if we want to do the orange stitch first is we need to change our modifier back to the orange setting by just turning this inner knob here. And then we'll leave it on our stitch width. We'll leave that on 4 for now because we know that this second stitch right here is going to require that extra space to execute that try motion. But we are going to play around with our stitch length a little bit, only on the 3-point zigzag. And then I have to remember to change it back. But we're going to take it down a ways, our stitch length, take it down to about 14, almost 15, to do our 3-point zigzag. And then we'll change it back when we move over to the white modifying stitch there. So let's do our 3-point zigzag first, and then we'll do our modifying stitch second. Okay, so 3-point zigzag and then modifier. Oh, I better do one other thing real quick. I almost got ahead of myself. I forgot to change our stitch selector on top. That would be a rookie mistake, and I probably would do it. So all I have to do is click this over to here, and now all of a sudden I'll be able to execute that 3-point zigzag and also that really pretty stitch, kind of a catacomb stitch that I call it. So we'll do that one next, now that I have all the proper settings, I hope. All right, so 3-point zigzag and then this catacomb style stitch after that. All right, so there's our 3-point zigzag. Yeah, I could have gone even shorter on that, but that's still really good. And then we will do our catacomb stitch next to it. And I've got to remember to change that stitch length back. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem, and also change the modifier as well. Let me get this back into place. All right, we'll get that back into place. Okay, so two things. Number one, I need to remember to change my stitch length back to around 7. Then I have to change my modifier from the orange dot to the white dot so that it's going to give us this real pretty stitch here. So I've just changed my modifier. We're going to leave our stitch width on 4. Our stitch length is now on right around 7. So let's do this next stitch now, which really is quite spectacular. I'll try to bring you down to the action so you can watch this Kenmore execute this stitch. All right, here we go. It just sews with so much ease. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous how much ease this machine sews with. And again, we're doing some pretty ornamental type stitching, and we're using a harpoon needle to do it. And we're still getting some great results from this Kenmore. All right, let's get that thread clipped, and we'll take a look at these 2 stitches from this last stitch category that we just did. All right, let's check these out. Just double checking. That should be, yep, that's my top stitch. And notice as well with this brown colored cotton, the camera is not having any issues with this. That other cotton that I used the other day, I think it was more of a turquoise color. The camera really struggled with that. It didn't like that at all. Oops, move my thread out of the way. So those are the last 2 stitches we just did there. The 3-point zigzag where we adjusted that stitch length down to tighten that pattern. And then we bumped the stitch length back up again so that we could execute the second catacomb style stitch pattern. It needs more space to operate that pattern. And we gave it the space that it needed. So I didn't run into that hiccup that I did on that other stitch where we were basically spinning our tires and couldn't get that material to advance with that tri-motion stitch. So beautiful stitching there with both of those patterns. Beautiful patterns on this Kenmore machine. We flip it over, look at that lock stitch. Also great pattern execution with that lock stitch as well. Quite spectacular. Beautiful stitching. I would say page 34 plus on these patterns, all the way from start to finish. Unbelievable. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Let's move on to the next one now. The next pattern that we have as an option. Let's check out this next pattern. which is going to be that whatever I called it the mountain stitch before, and then we've got another overcast stretch type stitch next to it. So we're going to switch this first so I don't almost forget to do that. We'll click this over to our next stitch option. It's kind of our mountain stitch and our other type of stretch stitch here. And I'm sure it has a name, but we're just going to call it the other stretch stitch. A little bit of a shadow right there. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, for some reason it's having a little trouble seeing that, but you get the idea. So I just click that to the next pattern. So now we're going to be sewing this pattern right here, the second from the left, from the right, excuse me, the second from the right. So if we want to do the orange stitch first, like we've been doing, I've got to change my modifier back to there so that's an orange dot. I'm going to leave the width on 4. I'm not going to change that. And then because our first pattern is going to be a mountain stitch that is not a tri-motion stitch, I'm going to leave my stitch length. Actually, no, I'm going to change it. We'll tighten it up a little bit more. We'll move our stitch length all the way down to about 15 stitches per inch for this mountain stitch. And then we'll bring it back the other way when we go to do the tri-motion stitch from the white modifier mode. So let's do this one first. We've got it right around close to 15 stitches per inch. We've got our center modifier set on the orange, so we're going to get the mountain stitch. And then we left our stitch width on 4, so we're going to leave that just the way it is. So let's do this next one, see what we think of this one. There we go. I think I got just about right. Get another swig of soda, and we'll go on to these next 2 patterns. All right. All right. So the mountain stitch and then the next stitch after that. Here we go. I really sewed too close to that other pattern. I almost sewed over it. I've actually got them connected. I was trying to do it tight and I went too tight on that. That's okay. All right, let's do this next pattern now. And then we'll take a look at the 2 of them together. I better leave a little bit more space this time. It's not like I'm limited for space. We've got plenty of room. Okay, so now we're going to do the white modifier, which should be that really pretty decorative one right there. You can see it's kind of a stretch style stitch right there, the second from the right. But we have to change our modifier first to the white dot, so it corresponds with the white stitch. And then we have to remember to change our stitch length back because this is going to be a tri-motion stitch. And if we try setting that stitch length too short, we're going to run into the same problem we did with that other stitch. So I'm going to set it right around 7 like we did before, and that should set us up for success. All right. You can see already what we've done. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. All right, let's do this next stitch. And again, this is going to be a tri-motion stitch. All right, here we go. Take up arm is up. Everything else is set properly. Let's give this a go. Take you down to the action here. Oh, that's a pretty one too. That's a very pretty pattern. And I think this is the same type of pattern we were sewing on that one live stream using the Hello Kitty needles. If you remember that, we were sewing with those Hello Kitty needles, and it was missing several of the points along the pattern. And then we moved over to that Schmetz needle, and all of a sudden, sewing the same pattern, the machine executed it perfectly. It was executing it perfectly both times, but that Hello Kitty needle was stealing away the stitch clarification and the stitch definition. So we're starting with Schmetz needles this time to make sure that we can enjoy that success consistently. All right, let's do this next. Let's see. Yeah, let's take a look at these. Huh, I'm distracted. I can hear the folks upstairs, and I'm thinking, I wonder what they're up to. Okay, I believe this is our top stitch. We'll look at this one first. These two patterns that we just did. There they are. Beautiful stitching, beautiful stitching. And again, as spectacular as these are, if we had a smaller needle, like a 7511 embroidery needle, instead of our harpoon size 116 size needle, we would even get greater clarity. It's almost hard to imagine that because the clarity and the definition of the stitching right now is really spectacular using our harpoon needle. Really, really spot on. So how is the lock stitch going to look? Let's turn around and look at the lock stitch now, which is just as fabulous on both of those stitch patterns. The mountain style stitch, which I think they call the block stitch or something like that. I don't remember what the manual said. And then also our stretch style stitch, our decorative stretch style stitch on the bottom. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. This again is our lock stitch that we're looking at right now. Folks, it's hard to see how that can get better, to be honest with you. It's hard to see how it can get better. It is absolutely, all of the stitches we've done on this Kenmore have been a solid page 34, if not a page 34 plus. Every single one. Just absolutely gorgeous stitching by this Japanese Kenmore machine. So if you've been kind of poo-poo on Japanese machines and you go, I don't think I would ever own one of those Japanese machines, this might change your thinking on it, because not only are they incredibly strong and workhorse machines, but they're also incredibly precision when it comes to executing the stitch patterns, even when you're working with a less than ideal setup. And by that, I mean using a harpoon needle instead of a smaller fine point type needle that would be able to handle more of the embroidery fine stitching. Yeah, really quite spectacular. Quite spectacular. All right, let me move on to the next stitch pattern now. We still have more patterns to sew. Still have more to sew. Get that back into place. And now we're going to change our stitch selector on top again to our final stitches that are available to us. We're going to turn it right like that. And now we're going to execute these stitches next. We just turned it to our final mode. We're almost back to our default mode again, right there. Kind of cupping my hand over the light there a little bit. Okay, and we're going to start with our orange stitch again. So I'm going to turn this modifier back to the orange setting. I just turned that back to the orange setting again. I'll probably leave my stitch width alone. I'll just leave it on 4. We've been there. It's been working well. We'll just leave that alone. And now I'm going to change my stitch selector because the first stitch we're going to do is a non-tri-motion stitch. So we can take our stitch length much shorter and take it way down to here. We could almost go all the way down to that orange marker, but we're not going to go quite that short. We'll go right about to there, probably about 17, 18 stitches per inch. So we're set really low on the stitch length. Stitch width, we're on 4. We're set on our modifier to the orange setting. So we should get that stitch first. And then when we go back to that one, we'll lengthen our stitch length. And then we'll change our modifier back to the white dot after that. So it really is a user-friendly machine to use, in my opinion. Not incredibly complicated once you get into a rhythm with it and you get it set the way you want it. So let's do the first stitch and then we'll do the second stitch. And then we will have done all the stitches that this Kenmore can do. Every single stitch, from the straight and zigzag all the way through the other pattern choices that this machine can do. So we'll be able to look at all the stitches in one fell swoop. All right, here we go. We'll do our first one. I'm just going to check my settings again. We should be good to go. And here we go. All right, that's our first stitch, and we'll do our second one after that. Okay, let's get this material back in place, and then we'll make the adjustments to do the next pattern, which is our final pattern that we have on this Kenmore machine that belongs to Becky out of Minnesota. So we don't have to do a thing up here because we got our pattern selected already on the stitch selector. Now we're going to go to our modifier and we're going to change it to the white one, the white dot. Hopefully you can see that. We were on the orange dot, which gave us that first pattern. Now we're going to go to the white dot to give us the second pattern in that setting mode. And now we have to change our stitch length to a much longer stitch, all the way up to around 7 stitches per inch. I might even go a little bit more because this is a real, this is a very intense tri-motion pattern. Matter of fact, I'm going to set it on the max. I'm going to set it on 6. Our modifier is set. Our stitch width is already set on the widest setting. Let's do this next one now. I always call this a combing stitch, but you might call it something totally different. So let's do this one now. And this will be our final stitch. You can even see those from this distance all the way across. Just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous stitch patterns. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's do this final stitch now, and then we can look at all the stitches that this Kenmore is able to execute. Let me take you down there. Yeah, I'm glad I gave it that extra length. That allowed us to really stretch that pattern out nicely. It needed that space with that tri-motion function of the machine. Really needed that extra space on the stitch length. All right, let me give this a clip real quick. And then we'll take a look at this pattern. So now what you're going to be looking at is you're going to be looking at all of the stitches that Becky's machine is capable of doing. And certainly there are variations to this. If we were to look at the possibility of adjusting stitch length, stitch width, etc., where we have discretion, then we can change it even more. But these are all the patterns that this machine is able to sew. Really quite a wide variety, I think. I think I have that upside down. Let's try it like that. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. I'm going to flip it over. We'll look at that lock stitching now. This again is our lock stitching. Well, I don't know what you think, but I think that I'm really impressed, especially considering we're executing these stitches using a harpoon needle instead of a more appropriately sized needle. Really, ideally, we should be in a size 80 or 70, and we're at 100 as far as the needle size. And the machine is still delivering absolute precision on some of these very, very complicated tri-motion stitches. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a little bit of an intermission, so I can quickly pop upstairs and check on the contractor. I've got to do that, and I apologize for doing that in the middle of the live stream, but I know that they might need some direction, or they might want to give me some quick input. I'll pop upstairs. I'll put on a little bit of music real quick for you. You can visit among yourselves while I'm doing that, and then I will be back to you as quickly as I can. It should only be hopefully a brief break. I'll explain to them I'm still live streaming, and then we'll jump back into sewing some of these other materials that we have in. I'm just reading something real quick. We'll jump into some of these other materials that we have to sew off to do our goal of a wide field of sew offs. Give me just a moment here. I'll have some music set up for y'all, and again, you can visit among yourselves while I'm taking care of this. And again, thank you for your understanding and your patience. I've got so many irons in the fire right now that I really don't have any other choice but to do this. We're still streaming. I'm doing a couple quick things to get things set up as far as music for y'all. So bear with me for just a moment. You'd think I'd have this phone down to a science by now, but I don't. And I don't have Japanese music that runs long enough, so I'm going to give you a different type of music. Why don't we do marching? Let's do marching music. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. You all have a good time chatting with each other. And the music ran out. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. The guys are buzzing away upstairs doing things. And okay, whew. And they did need to get some input from me. So I apologize for that little break and everyone's patience as I stepped away a little bit. Okay, let me get this around. And let me get your input on the materials that we should be trying next. You've already seen all the stitches. You've already seen all of the stitches. So what we're going to be doing now is choosing what stitches to lay down on what material. That'll be our goal now. So you can see the field of stitches we have, and maybe we should just number them in a sense so that you can give me a number, and then I'll look at this. The straight stitch will be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11. We're basically looking at 11 stitches, starting with a straight stitch being number 1, and then kind of moving across all the way through number 11. And I'm not sure why they typically refer to this model as a 12-stitch machine, because it really has 11 stitches as far as I can tell. So that's how we'll do it as far as the stitch that you want me to do. We'll start with 1 and then go across through 11. You just tell me what number, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10, and then I'll execute it on that particular material that we're working on. So that's the next thing is, what material should we do next? I don't have a huge number of choices. These are cotton as well. We're not going to do those. We're not going to do more cotton at this point. We've already done enough of that. But we've got denim. We've got bubblegum material. I'm going to go ahead and clip this off real quick while I've got that. So these again are our stitch options. Let me throw this to the side. Let's see. So our options are again denim, bubblegum material. The denim is going to be for purposes of strength mostly. So why don't I exclude this one? Because we're going to do about 4. Since we have a size 100 needle, I might go as high as 6 layers of denim. So I would fold kind of like this, 2, 4, and then 6, because we've got a size 100 needle as far as going through this much denim. And that'll be more of a strength test. But for purposes of stitch selection, we can do some of them on this saddle grade leather. I'll save the circle one until the end. But we can do some of it on this saddle grade leather. We can do it on this bubblegum material. We can lay down decorative or other choice stitches through some of this protected full grain leather, elk hide. This will be more of a strength test as well. I've got 2 layers of this. We'll probably lay down a zigzag. So I'm going to move that over with the denim. And that's about it. I didn't cut a lot of materials, a huge number of materials. So let's start with this. Tell me what material you'd like me to move into next. We can either focus on strength straight away, and we can do the denim and the saddle grade leather. This will again be our strength test of the machine. Again, we're powered with a 1-amp motor, and it really is a workhorse of a machine, this Japanese Kenmore. So these are options right away. Or we can lay down some of the other stitches that I showed you. Some of these stitches, we can lay these down on bubblegum material, or genuine elk hide, protected full grain leather, or certainly saddle grade leather. Because we have these, this piece right here, we can lay down some of the other decorative type ornamental stitches. So at any rate, I know I'm a little bit scattered. I just got back from talking to the contractors. My wheels are spinning, but let me see what your input is, if any, and then we'll jump into these next sew-offs and move towards wrapping this live stream up. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hello, Emma. Emma knows that I'm scattered right now, and she's no, Scott. Really, it is a 12 stitch machine. They're considering the buttonhole that you like block out of your memory, like a Vietnam War veteran coming back from combat. You block out the buttonhole. That's stitch number 12. Okay, I'm back with all of you now. Thank you, Emma. Oh my gosh. Jiminy crickets. Let's see. Yeah. Even the owner, who has a greater level of intimacy with Kenmore, is like, I wouldn't have thought of the buttonhole as a stitch. I think Kenmore is stretching that a little bit. I don't think a buttonhole is really a stitch. I would say it's a machine function. So maybe what we should be saying is this Kenmore is a 12 function machine. Maybe that. I just noticed, since I stepped away to talk with the contractors, we're getting that crazy outpouring of interest again from those people that I'm reaching out to on Facebook. I'm running promotions on Facebook right now to grow our following on Facebook, but a lot of those people that are gaining an interest in what we're doing on Facebook apparently are migrating over to YouTube right now, and they come in sporadic bursts. And if I'm seeing it correctly, Susie, what is our count right now on this live stream to mention on Becky's Kenmore? Again, we're focused on a Kenmore, not focusing on a really rare antique hand crank machine like our friend Alex Askroff might present. We're not focused on a 222K, but we will be shortly on this channel. Actually, two different 222Ks, the free arm version of the featherweight. We're focused on a Kenmore. And a lot of people, they look at a Kenmore as more of a mainstream generic type sewing machine. It's a great sewing machine, but they're not considered incredibly rare. They're not an incredibly rare machine that would draw an audience of this size. They generally aren't. But because of what we're doing on Facebook, people are starting to take notice of us. Schmetz Needles is already spreading the word about us. Bernina USA is spreading the word. Brother USA is spreading the word about the Cow Country family. And look at the result and the impact that it's bringing to our audience size. It's mind-blowing. To a niche type topic area like this, It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Wow. Unbelievable. And a lot of input as far as the next material. Some were saying hide, some were saying denim. So why don't we get denim? Why don't we get away? Let's get denim out of the way, because denim has bit us in the backside a couple of times. And I think I just got a text message. Denim has bit us in the backside a couple of times. So we're going to try to get that out of the way straight away. Okay, that was not related to this. This was about another request for locating parts and locating sewing manuals, which we help with all the time. But it really is more so Christine from Canada and Bill from Florida that will jump in and help folks out when they text me and when they email, when they send things through Facebook Messenger as well. So that does not relate to what we're doing. Okay, let me get my focus back. So we have a huge audience right now, and I want to talk to all those folks watching right now. Almost 800 people that are part of that audience right now. Number one, I just want to say that we are so honored to have you here. We are so honored and feel greatly blessed to have such a big family following. And I know that folks can't make it to every single live stream, but we are so glad that you're here. And I hope that you'll take the next step of of becoming more involved. Join the live chat. Step out there and like the live streams, either during the live stream or afterwards. If you're not following us on Facebook, join us on Facebook as well. Now we're up to 784. This is just wild. Incredible. Incredible, incredible, incredible. And again, this is not just a reflection of me. I'm not a sewing savant that people will automatically gravitate to. I know a lot of people do find the way that I present exciting and interesting in our space. I try to add a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more fun, but also a big part of that is all of you that are in the audience as well, sharing your knowledge, sharing your passion, the leadership team welcoming you and making you feel like you're part of something special, because you are. So I want to also point to the leaders and say thank you to the leadership team for being that welcoming committee, for making everybody get excited about being a part of this family. I couldn't do it without all of those leaders stepping forward and saying, we're so glad you're here. Because I'm over here. I'm not interacting in the chat very much at all, if at all, during the live stream. So it really falls back on them to make all of these folks feel like they made the right choice on a busy Tuesday morning in coming and joining this audience. So, and joining more so than the audience, joining this family. So let's jump into the rest of these sew-offs. Let's wrap up this live stream. And again, welcome to everyone that is new. And when you feel comfortable, jump out there and share your knowledge with us. We can learn from each other. As I always say, sometimes a teacher, always a student. So thank you for being a part of the family. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you again to the leadership team for doing such a brilliant job of taking care of our growing family, 776 as we speak right now, 776. Wow. Okay. So let's focus on this denim first. This denim always gives us a challenge. It always gives us a challenge. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to go right for 6 layers. We got a size 100 needle. I'm hoping that we have success. And I'm not going to do anything to the tension, but I am going to bump up that presser foot pressure. I am going to bump that pressure up. And look at this. I'm trying to, on Becky's Kenmore, I'm trying to get these 6 layers of denim underneath here. It's not going to happen. But I do have a hyperextension as well. I reach to the back of here by that presser foot lever, and I push it up, and I've got a little bit of extra play that should get me underneath there, hopefully. I hope. Let's give it a try again here. 4 layers, 6 layers. Okay. I hope I have 6. I might have 8, 2, 4. I did that one time. I was like, hey, we just did 6 layers. Someone looks at it and they go, I think you just did 8 layers. So, all right, let me raise that a little bit, get us underneath there. And we're going to try to go down and lay down a zigzag on this. So we've got to go back to our regular sewing mode of moving this over to there where they see that orange dot. Move it over to there with that orange dot. And then we've got to do a couple of things over here. I've got to, let's see. Let me get my head straight here. Go back over to orange. We got our stitch width. I'm going to go to 3. I'm not going to go to 4. And then we've got our stitch length. I'm going to go to right around 7. So we should, if I have everything set up correctly, we should be getting our zigzag now. Our zigzag on our normal sewing mode. I'll just call it normal sewing mode with our orange dot. So I set our stitch width at 3. We're on our orange setting. So we should get that zigzag. And we set our stitch length right around 7. Right around 7. So let's do this next one now, which should be a really nice looking zigzag. But look at what I have to do first. I'm getting ready to launch. I'm not ready to launch. I need to bring that all the way up. There we go. All the way up. All right, let me bring that down. Okay. So here we go with 6 layers of denim. And I had said before that this was a standard denim. I think it does have a little bit of maybe some spandex or some sort of a stretchy vinyl material in it, just because of the way it goes after the balancing of the tension. And taking something else into account, I'm also going to increase our pressure foot pressure all the way to the maximum. You can see where we're at right now. So this would be none. I'm going to go all the way down. So we've got our maximum pressure foot pressure. All right, let me see if we can get this going through this zigzag. Keep your fingers crossed. I'm not changing the tension. That may be a mistake. That may be a mistake. As a matter of fact, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can move this over just a little bit further. Okay, I think I have enough room. Pressure foot is down. Thread is set. Let's give this a try. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I know we have enough power, but our settings might have to be adjusted a little bit. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Okay, the top stitching looks really, really good. That's our top stitching right there. We'll take a real close look at that. Oh my gosh. See that? The Schmetz needles people are so smart. And I'm not just saying that because they're watching right now and they follow us on Facebook. They're so smart. They're doing a special workshop right now on needles, and their ambassador to needles is going to be showing a wide scope of Schmetz needles and talking about the ideal applications of those needles. That's a class that I would encourage you all to check out. You can find them on Facebook. Schmetz needles is all they are. Just Google that or do that on Facebook or whatever, and you'll find their ambassador. And maybe our ambassador can connect with their ambassador and then bring that knowledge back to us. So maybe Jenny, if she has time, can check out that live stream they're going to be doing on needles and then bring that knowledge back to share with us. But we're operating with a universal size 100. We would not get this result on 6 layers of denim with a size 90-14. That's my go-to needle for everything. But we wouldn't be getting this result. But we're getting it because of that size 100 needle. It's just a little bit larger scope needle, and it's making a difference for us. So let's take a look and see what we did with these 6 layers A-grade denim. That probably has a little bit of spandex in it, but not like that other stuff. That's horrible. All right, let's see if I can get a good shot of this for you. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. A little bit hard to see. This is, let's see. Yeah, this is our top stitching. This is our top stitching. See, it's a lighter denim. You see from the side what we just sewed through. There we go. I think we're getting something here. There we are. There we are. That's the shot I was looking for. Folks, that's a beautiful zigzag. And again, through 6 layers of denim that does have a little bit of spandex in it. It's got a little bit of spandex in it. Not as bad as that other real stretchy denim, but this is nasty too. Absolutely gorgeous stitching all the way around. Look at that. Unbelievable. And look at again what that looks like from the side. We flip it over. Let's look at that lock stitch. That lock stitching is looking just as spectacular. And that was really my concern because I didn't change the tension at all. Normally, if you're going to be doing some sort of sewing like this with multiple layers and you're dealing with a material that has a stretchy factor to it, whether it's vinyl, spandex, or something else, you always bump up that upper tension a little bit so that it's got enough pull to get that thread taut on the bottom of the material. We didn't need it because of that larger needle and because Becky's machine is a monster when it comes to heavy duty sew offs. It's an absolute monster. There's our lock stitch. Let's even go like this and get even a clearer vision of it. Beautiful lock stitching, 6 layers of denim with a little bit of spandex. So there's our lock stitching, top stitch. There's what we just went through. And I would consider that a significant success. Significant success. We battled this before, and in part because even using a Schmetz 9014 needle, it wasn't enough. But when I shifted over to a size 100, which is the same as a size 16, all of a sudden you get results like this. So keeping this family friendly and keeping it in the context of sewing, let me just say that size matters. Size matters when it comes to needles sometimes, depending on the thickness of what you're going through and the type of material composition whenever you're dealing with that stretch factor. So I'm going to move this to the back with our cotton sew off. We're going to jump into some more sew offs real quick. And I'm looking at our time, 2 hours and 37 minutes. I told the contractors that we would wrap up by about 12:15. So we're going to jump through this fast and furious. Let's go after some of that bubblegum material. And let me ask you real quick, if you would be so kind as to give me a stitch choice. Again, starting with the straight stitch, that's stitch number 1. The zigzag is stitch number 2. The stretch stitch is number 3, etc., all the way to number 11. So 1 through 11. Tell me what stitch you want to see and what material you want to see it on. What stitch you want to see by number and what material. And if you joined us a little bit late, we did all of these stitches live on this live stream today. All of these were done live. This is not, it's not a stock photo type thing. We don't operate that way at Cow Country. Everything is done live. We sometimes run into challenges. We always overcome them. So you pick the stitch 1 through 11 and tell me what material you want to see that stitch on, and we'll try to do that for you on this live stream. I'm going to look at the live chat real quick and see if there's any specific input. So the owner is saying stitch 11. I'm going to do stitch 11 and also stitch 6. So stitch number 6 and stitch number 11. And I'm going to do those if it's okay with the owner. If it's okay with the owner, I'm going to do that on saddle grade leather. We'll do stitch number 11 and then stitch number 6 on this saddle grade leather. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this because I don't want to run out of bobbin thread either. I've got another bobbin wound. Let's see. Strength testing. What do I have? I've got elk hide. I want to do some of this. I want to do the final sew off here in a circle. I've got this for strength test. I've got that for strength test. Here's what I can do. Let me do this. I was going to do this, but I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to do this protected full grain leather, and we're going to go through 2 layers of it, doing Becky stitch number 11, and then stitch number 6, I think it was. Is that right? 11, 6, and 4 is kind of what we have right now. 11, 6, and 4. So I'm going to do 11 and 6, and then I'll try to do Emma's number 4 as well. Hold on a second. Let's do the owners first. Actually, let me see what 11 is. Oh, I see what 11 is. Okay, 11 is going to be that combing stitch. So on the combing stitch, I'm not going to do 2 layers. I'll do a single layer of protected full grain leather. It's still about 3 ounces of leather. I wanted to see what kind of stitch it was. So let's do this. Get this in place. Okay, so that's down. So now we need to get it set up for that combing stitch, which should be stitch number 11 all the way over there. So let's see here. I can go either way. I'm going to go that way. So I should have it set on the stitch that the owner wanted to see. That's going to be a white stitch, so I've got to take the modifier and I've got to change that to the modifier. Instead of the orange dot, we go to the white dot. Then we're going to go to the widest setting, and then we're going to go to a long setting as well for this particular stitch. It requires a lot of space to operate. So let's see if we can do the owner's stitch first, and then we'll move on to that other stitch. If I can get that on the same material, we'll do that side by side. Okay. Well, let me get this going, and then I'll see if I can get you down to the action. Press your foots down, press your foot. Good. Okay, let's see if we can get this going, and then I'll get you down to the action. I'm going to check my stitch. Did I do the right one? I think I've got the correct stitch. I think I have the correct stitch. This should be stitch number 11. Let's keep going, see what we get. I mean, you hear this machine running. This machine is going through protected full grain leather. It's doing a very complex tri-motion stitch, and it sounds like it's not even running. It's so silky smooth. It's ridiculous. It's so silky smooth. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, we even maintain good tension balance through this protected full grain leather. Okay, so let me show the owner's stitch first, because I always say these live streams are about the owner. This is the stitch that the owner just selected. See if we can zoom in on that. Absolutely spectacular. Unbelievable. And again, we're not sewing with a leather needle. We're sewing with one of Schmetz's universal needles. Size 100. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's look at that lock stitch. And again, I didn't change the tension. Usually when you move into leathers, you want to bump up that upper tension a little bit. We stayed right where we were at. Let me angle that camera down a little bit. I think I'll be able to get a clearer view of that. Yep. Absolutely gorgeous. I especially love that top stitch. And again, if we were using a leather needle, we could raise the clarity of that stitching even higher than it is, but it really is quite spectacular as it is. Beautiful, beautiful stitch. And that's not an easy stitch to sew at all with that tri-motion function. But this Kenmore did just a off the charts job of executing that very, very difficult stitch, both with the top stitch and also with the locking stitch as well. And I'll be honest with you, as I scrutinize this lock stitch, it's very, very good. It's very, very good. But I would, if I were sewing a ton of this protected full grain leather, I would bump up that upper tension just a smidge to clarify that stitch on the bottom even more. But it really is quite nice, quite nice. Very, very nice. What were my other stitches? Was it 6, I think? I think it was stitch number 6. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're talking about a 3-point zigzag. Someone, I believe, wanted to see a 3-point zigzag. Emma, type yours in again. I don't remember what it was. So I'm going to move over to a 3-point zigzag now. Let's move over to a 3-point zigzag. We'll do the same thing on this protected full grain leather. Press your foot is down, take up arm all the way up. Okay, so a 3-point zigzag should be that stitch right there. Wait a second, that was it right there. 3-point zigzag. Yep. So that should be a 3-point zigzag. Now the change we have to make is we're on the modifier with the white dot right now. We need to go to the orange. We're going to leave our stitch width. No, we're not. Well, let's take our stitch width a little bit more narrow just to have a change. Let's go to 3 on stitch width. And then down here on the stitch length, we want to take that down a ways, probably around 14, 15 stitches per inch. So let's do this next 3-point zigzag. I might even go a little bit further. Let's do this next 3-point zigzag. We've got it all set up. And let's do it on the right next to the owner stitch with this protected full grain leather. Okay. All right, let's do this next one now. All right. Here we go. 3-point zigzag. I think I have everything set up correctly. I'm going to double check one more time. It looks like I do. So 3-point zigzag. Wow. Where's my that was easy button? I haven't seen that for a while. Oh, there it is, way over there. Hold on a second.
That was easy. That was easy.
I haven't had this button out for a while. No one's asked about it. I totally forgot it was there. Okay, let's take a look at this stitch, and then I'll look at the live chat, see if I can figure out what stitch Emma wanted to see. I think it might have been 4, but I don't remember. So now let's look at this 3-point zigzag next to the owner stitch. Yeah, there it is. Absolutely beautiful stitching. Very, very nice. Very, very nice stitching. Let's look at that lock stitch on the back now. See how it maintained stitch integrity through that lock stitch process. Very, very nice. No loopy doopy, no looseness to that stitch whatsoever. It's just absolutely as it should be. See if I can show it to you even better this way. There we go. This again is our lock stitch on the back. You can see where the nap of the leather kind of masks it a little bit, kind of covers it up just a little bit. You got to kind of go like this a little bit, and you can see it pop up. So that's a definite success. Beautiful stitching through protected full grain leather. All right, let me go ahead and see what Emma typed in. Emma wants to see number 4. Let me see if I can find number 4. One, two, three. Number 4 is a blind hem stitch. Number 4 is a blind hem. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're looking at a blind hem stitch. I'll do a blind hem stitch on, we'll also do that on protected full grain leather. Let's do that on protected. I've got this extra piece here. We'll do a blind hem stitch, and I'll leave a little bit of space for Becky to sew next to it if she wants to, once the machine and the sew offs arrive out in Minnesota. All right, presser foot is down. So now we need to set up for a blind hem stitch, which I believe is going to be this stitch right here, along with the overcast. So I need to find that now. Let's see here. That should be it right there. Blind hem, overcast. Just checking again. Looks like it is. Looks like it is. I think that's okay. So now we need to set it up for that blind hem that Emma wants to see. We've already set it on the stitch selector. We're good to go there. Now we need to set it up on orange. We are on orange. So we're already set up on orange, which is good to go. Our stitch width, I think I'll leave it right on 3. And then our stitch length, I'm also going to leave that down in the range that we are right now, right around 15 stitches per inch. So that was a real easy transition to Emma's stitch. All we really had to change was up here. So let's do Emma's stitch now on this protected full grain leather. And then we'll probably move into our sewing around in a circle so I can wrap up the live stream and get back to the contractors to wrap up that side of my day as well. I would like to sneak in some bubblegum material, but I still need to sew in a circle as well. I always do that as kind of the end, and we'll do it to some music. And yeah. All right. So let's do Emma's stitch now, blind hem. Here we go. Checking all my settings. We should be good to go. Yes. All right. Let's give us a try. See if I can take you down to the action. Okay, so Emma's stitch now. We'll look at this blind hem stitch. Again, we're sewing through protected full grain leather. They call it protected because it has a special coating that they put on it in the processing of the leather that protects it from staining and also gives it a little bit more durability. But really the big thing is protecting it from staining. Beautiful stitching. Amazing, amazing stitching. Flip it over. Look at that lock stitch. You see how the nap changes on the back? It'll thin out a little bit, then it'll thicken. Again, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to see that stitching, doesn't it? There's the thick side of the nap right there. Just have the right angle right there where you can see it pretty clearly. I have it turned just a little bit on an angle for you. Page 34 plus, page 34 plus, beautiful stitching. I'll throw that to the back with the other sew-offs we've done. Let's see. Let me ask real quick for the owner's input, Becky. We did a strength test as far as sewing through the 6 layers of denim. Would you like to see me go through these 2 layers of saddle grade leather? It's going to look something like that. So if Becky says, yeah, let's do the saddle grade leather, then I'm going to go after this saddle grade leather. And then we'll do our sewing around in a circle. I might skip the bubblegum material today, which is a shame because it does such a beautiful job of presenting the stitches. Okay, so Becky said, let's do it. Let's do it. So we're going to go back to back on this saddle grade leather. I'm going to get my my Guggenheim scissors and just make sure that they're cut to the same length. Actually, they look like they are already. They look like they're already cut to the same length. So this is going to be a strength test. It's going to be a strength test for this Kenmore out of Japan. Let me get that into position. I've already got my presser foot pressure at maximum. So what I'm going to do now is change my settings just a little bit. But I'm not going to go to a standard straight stitch or a zigzag. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to decide what I'm going to do here. Going to be a little bit of a rebel. And I might be biting off more than I should chew. I might be pushing this a little bit too far. But I'd be curious to try that overcast stitch. I'd be curious to try that overcast stitch through 2 layers of saddle grade leather. It might be too much. It might be a little bit too much. My other option would be to do the stretch straight stitch as well. I'm going to try the overcast. If it doesn't work because of the 2 layers shifting a little bit and it's going to distort stitch, then we'll go to an alternative. But I'm going to try that one. I really want to try that. So I'm going to change my stitching mode, my modifier, to the white stitch, and then I have to find that stitch. Excuse me, this stitch, the overcast stitch. We've got to find that stitch up here, which I already found it because it's the opposite of the blind hem that we just did. It's the opposite. So we're already there. I don't have to change anything. It's right there. Right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. Already set. But I'm going to give it more room to work with. I'm going to go to our widest stitch setting. And then I'm going to give it plenty of length to work with. Plenty of length. So let's try this. This might be too much, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go. All right. If we pull this off, I might skip the sewing in a circle because this is a bigger challenge. And also I'm going to give myself a little bit of assistance here in holding these two together with a couple of these clips. Holding these together with a couple of clips. All right, let's give this a go. This is a big challenge, folks. Very, very big challenge. This much leather, a non-leather needle, and then we're going to be trying to get through this with a stitch that really is not designed for this type of material. But we're going to try it anyway. We'll see how we do. See how we do. We don't know if we don't try, right? All right, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. I'm going to keep speed down. I'm going to keep the speed down. Let me real quick see if I can get a peek of what's happening on the lock side. Okay, the lock side is looking pretty good. I'm just going to make a little bit of an adjustment. The first time we've done it during this live stream, I'm going to bump this up just a tiny little bit. We're right on 4. I'm going to go up to 5. We were on 4. I'm going to go up to about 5. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Slow down, buddy, slow down. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Yeah, we got a really good result. The only thing I would change, this is our lock side, this is our top stitch, is I bumped up the upper tension. I would have needed to go even a little bit higher for this type of stitch pattern. It's got so much needle movement. It's got the tri-motion function as well. We're going to have a really good stitch product, but we can make it better. I went up to about 5 on the upper tension. I should have gone up to about 6, maybe even 6.5. But we'll take a look at it. We know what to do if we're going to be sewing 2 layers of saddle gray leather all day long. But I think I'm going to call this the end of the live stream after I show you the result. I'm not even going to bother to sew in a circle because we've gone through a sew off with this. That really is a great way to culminate incredibly successful live stream with Becky's machine out of Minnesota. Yeah, it's really close. It's really close. Let's look at these. But again, remember a non-leather needle. We just went through about 6 ounces of leather. If you look at it from here, about 6 ounces of leather. So this is our top stitching right here. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. A lot of leather. That is not easy, folks. Not easy at all through that much leather, executing that type of stitch. Now I'm going to turn it around and we'll look at that lock stitch. Again, the lock stitch is really quite good. This is our lock stitch now. I would just bump up that upper tension to tighten it up even more and to make it even more defined, but we got a very good product. Only on those crossover straight stitches, you can see a little bit of a looseness, and that is an upper tension issue. That's an upper tension issue, but it's very minor, very minor. Very minor. So this is our lock stitching through all of that leather and our top stitching. Well, I want to thank the owner so much for the opportunity of having this fabulous machine in the workshop and taking it through a couple of minor repairs. And certainly the workshop magic had a chance to help this machine get back to greatness. We did all of this on the live stream. All of these stitches, minus the buttonhole. And this machine just really did an incredible dance, demonstrating incredible selection of stitches that it has, and just laying them down to near perfection in every respect. We also tested the strength of this machine, going through these 6 layers of heavy grade denim that has a little bit of spandex in it. We went through all of that and laid down a beautiful zigzag on the top stitch and also on the lock stitch as well. No issues. And again, I would attribute it to the greatness of the machine, and certainly also giving it an edge to succeed by giving it a size 100, a size 16 needle. And we also ran down through some more complicated stitches, more decorative ornamental type stitches. One selected by the owner on the top, and then the other one selected down here on the bottom, this 3-point zigzag. And again, just utter, I won't say utter perfection, but near perfection. Because I think we can always do better. And then we also did this blind hem stitch for Emma. And again, had a great result. Top stitch. And also the lock stitch as well. And last but not least, we culminated with going through 2 layers of saddle grade leather, about 8 to 10 ounces of leather when you combine the thickness of these two, 8 to 10 ounces. And we laid down an incredibly complex stitch with tri-motion to, I'm just going to say it, to perfection, with the exception of needing to tighten up that upper tension just a little bit in order to give us even more clarity of stitch on that particular stitch outcome. So I'm incredibly pleased with our mini Sewing Olympics. We went through all of these stitches, all of these stitch offs, I should say. And this Kenmore from the 1960s did not miss a beat, So thank you again to Becky for the opportunity. Our next step is we'll kind of wrap some things up, and then pretty soon I'll be shipping that machine back to Alabama that you just saw, that FOF 230, and then also shipping this great Kenmore back to Minnesota. So a lot happens behind the scenes after you have a live stream like this. I've got to do some things to wrap up with the owners. I've got to do the packing of that machine as well. And it's busy, nonstop, changing and shifting between different phases of the process to get that machine back to the owner. So just realize this isn't the end of it. It's only about midway in eventually getting this machine back to the rightful owner after we ran it through a dance like this. So I better wrap this up, get back to those great contractors upstairs that are doing some magic themselves, and kind of just celebrate the greatness of this machine and the greatness of a machine that can go through all of this and yet make it look so doggone.
That was easy.
So doggone easy. So God bless everybody. Take care. Thank you again to the leadership team for doing such a great job of taking care of the family, and all those that took time out of their busy Tuesday to join us today. I truly am grateful for each and every one of you. God bless. And I'm hoping, depending on in the progress of things, I'll be able to present another fantastic machine this coming Saturday. It'll probably be, and I won't guarantee this, it'll probably be a Singer Rocketeer. So take care, everybody. God bless.